When God wants to speak and you almost scroll past. Stop, don't scroll, breathe, just for a second. Because maybe this is God's last chance to reach your heart today. How many times have you passed by something that seemed small, but later realized it was a message from heaven? How many times have you ignored something simple, thinking it was just another video, just another story, and ended up missing a touch from God? This story is different. It's about a child, a little blind girl. She couldn't see anything, at least not with her eyes. But she saw what no one else could. She spoke with God in such a simple, so profound way that many laughed at her. But heaven didn't laugh. Heaven listened. And what she said, what she saw without seeing, is exactly what you need to hear now. You might be tired, scrolling just to distract yourself from the pain, the emptiness, the rush. But God is trying to speak. He's trying to reach you. And if you're hearing this, it's not by chance. Before you scroll to the next post, before you leave, listen to what this blind child saw. Because maybe through her, God is trying to open your eyes too. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to pause for a moment to hear God. Now come with me, because this story will touch you like few others have. Chapter 1, The Child No One Saw. Her name was Clara, a name full of light, for a girl who was born without sight. From a young age, Clara experienced the world through touch, sound, and her heart. While other children ran around the playground, Clara sat quietly listening to footsteps, imagining colors she had never seen, feeling the wind play with her hair. She was calm, silent. She had a shy smile, and a peace that no one understood. But the truth is, no one truly saw Clara. At school, she was the last to be called upon. In groups, she was left out. In the neighborhood, they said, "Poor girl, she lives in a dark world." Even at home, sometimes, she was treated as fragile, as a burden. But what no one knew is that Clara didn't live in darkness. On the contrary, she saw things that no one else could. From a very young age, Clara heard a voice. It wasn't a common voice. It wasn't imagination. It was a sweet, firm voice that appeared whenever she felt alone. This voice called her by name. This voice guided her. This voice embraced her from within. "Clara, I am here." And she responded. She conversed. She recounted her days. She sought advice. She spoke with God as one speaks with a childhood friend. And the more she conversed, the lighter she felt. But no one saw this. To the world, Clara was just a blind girl, sitting in a corner talking to herself. No one knew that she saw heaven, even with her eyes closed. How many Claras are out there? People who carry a light within but are ignored on the outside. People who speak with God in silence. While the world treats them as crazy, distracted, insignificant, God chooses those whom the world rejects. He reveals himself to those whose soul's eyes are open. And Clara was one of those chosen. Perhaps you are too. Perhaps no one truly sees you, but God sees, and he speaks. Even if the world ignores you, he calls you by name. And that's how it all began, with a blind girl who saw heaven better than all of us. Chapter 2, The Laughter of Those Who Don't Understand. Clara grew up with the certainty that she was not alone. Every morning she would wake up and say, "Good morning, my friend." And the room, once silent, would fill with a gentle presence. She smiled. She sang hymns that no one had taught her. She recited verses without ever having read the Bible with her eyes, because the eyes of her heart read with faith. But the more Clara spoke with God, the more people around her mocked. Look, the blind girl is talking to herself again. She says she hears God. Poor thing, living in a fantasy world. That's something for someone with problems. Leave her be. And they laughed. They laughed at her faith. They laughed at her sweetness. They laughed at her purity, not because they understood, but because they couldn't bear what they couldn't see. But Clara never took offense. She smiled back and responded with something she once whispered to her mother. They laugh because they haven't heard what I hear, but one day they will hear too. Clara knew something that few understand. When you carry a revelation from God, the world will laugh before it bows. In the Bible, Noah built an ark without ever having seen rain, and they laughed at him until the sky opened. Clara carried that same kind of faith. It wasn't based on sight nor logic. It was a deep faith that only grows when watered by tears and silence. She didn't mind being called strange, because she knew the voice that called her was real. It was God, and that was enough. How many times has your faith been a reason for mockery? How many times have you swallowed your tears because someone mocked your intimacy with God? God is saying, don't stop believing just because others have stopped listening. Clara continued, even in the face of laughter, because what she saw, even without seeing, was greater than any mockery. Chapter 3, The Secret in the Dark Room. Clara had a special place, a little corner just for her. It was a small, simple room with few pieces of furniture and a window that let in only a sliver of light. There, she would sit every day on the same rug, on her knees, with her hands crossed in her lap and her head slightly tilted. It was there that the world disappeared and heaven opened up. She didn't need light because she had never lived by it. Her faith was built in the dark, and in the dark, Clara saw the invisible. In that room, she didn't cry because she was blind. She smiled because she knew she saw things that no one else could. There, God spoke to her in ways that only those who have deeply silenced themselves can understand. He said, "You are my girl. Don't mind those who laugh. I am preparing something greater. Keep listening to me, because through you, many will hear me too." And Clara noted everything with her heart. She stored words as one collects pearls. And when someone entered suddenly, they found a girl kneeling, with her face illuminated by something that didn't come from the window. It came from within. Clara's dark room wasn't a place of pain. It was a place of revelation. And like every sacred place, it held secrets. The greatest of them, Clara interceded. She prayed for those who mocked her. She prayed for the classmates who avoided her. She prayed for her parents, for the neighbors, for strangers. And one day, while praying in silence, she heard God say, "You will see what no one has seen. You will hear what no one has understood, because your heart is mine." In the Bible, there's a moment when Jesus says, "Father, I thank you because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children." Matthew 11:25. Clara was that little one, and the dark room was her secret altar. The world thought she lived in darkness, but inside, Clara saw more light than anyone around her. Chapter 4. What she saw without seeing. Clara never opened her eyes to see this world, but her spiritual eyes were completely open. She saw what cannot be touched. She saw God's presence walking beside her. She saw angels around her bed when fear tried to enter. She saw God's love as a golden light that enveloped everything she touched with faith. One time her mother, tired, crying inside, asked softly, not expecting an answer, "Daughter, how can you always be so at peace?" Clara smiled, turned her face toward her mother's voice, and said, "Because I see him every day, Mommy. He visits me here. And when he comes, everything feels light." That answer was like an arrow straight to the heart. Clara's mother burst into tears because she realized that although she could see the entire world, she had never seen what her daughter saw in the dark. Clara didn't see faces. She didn't see clothes. She didn't see status. She saw what is eternal, the heart. She saw intentions. She saw wounds. She saw truths that most try to hide with fake smiles. And the most incredible, Clara saw the future. Yes, God began to show her things that would happen. She described people who would come to visit her. She said what they were feeling even before they spoke, and always with a calm voice. She said, "Don't be afraid. God is already resolving it." And he did. People began to be astonished. Some distanced themselves, scared, but others began to approach because they realized that Clara wasn't just a blind girl. She was an instrument of heaven. Even without seeing, Clara saw what mattered. Even without seeing a sunset, she felt the warmth of God's presence every day. Even without reading the scriptures, she spoke like ancient prophets. And you? Have you been using your eyes, but are blind inside? Clara is the example that true vision comes from the soul, not the retina. And when the heart is full of light, not even darkness can hide the shine. The day everyone stopped to listen. Tired fathers, children who are afraid, and people who come to school but are sad inside. But God is here. He told me he loves each one. And if you close your eyes now, he will touch you too. Some closed their eyes out of respect, others out of curiosity. But when they did, tears began to fall. People who had never prayed felt something. A peace, a warmth, an unexplainable presence. That school was never the same again. The news spread. Clara, the blind girl who spoke with God, was now being heard by all. Not because she sought fame, but because God chose to use simplicity to confront the world's distraction. How many times have you scrolled past voices like Clara's? How many divine messages have you ignored out of hurry? That day, everyone stopped, because finally, they heard what she had always seen. And you? Are you ready to stop and listen too? Is using the invisible to awaken the distracted. Clara never wanted to be seen. She just wanted to keep hearing the voice that had comforted her since birth. But God chose her for something greater. He used her precisely because the world ignored her. Because heaven always sees what earth despises. Today, you've heard the story of a blind girl who saw heaven. She didn't see with her eyes, but her heart was wide, open to God. While many were distracted by the world's lights, Clara walked guided by the light of eternity. Maybe you felt invisible. Maybe you believe no one listens to you. But God wants to remind you, He sees you, He hears you, and He wants to speak with you. Stop scrolling. Stop running from His presence. Stop ignoring heaven's gentle taps. This message reached you for a reason. Because God is raising Claras in the world. Simple people, forgotten ones, hidden ones, but who carry enough light to awaken a sleeping generation. God wants to use you too. But for that, you must do what everyone did that day. Stop, listen, feel, believe. Close your eyes now and whisper like Clara once did, "I'm here, Lord, speak to me." He will speak, and you will begin to see. If this story touched your heart, like this video, comment, "I stopped to listen," or then share it with someone who needs to see with their soul. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that not only move, but transform. Because while the world rushes, heaven whispers, and whoever stops to listen is never the same again.